the Biden administration finally agreed to debate Trump, and CNN in particular is going to host next week. But RFK Jr. has failed to qualify for the CNN debate, setting up a showdown between Biden and Trump. This is from NBC News. The independent candidate did not meet the network's ballot and polling thresholds for the June 27th event. Independent Robert F. Kennedy Jr. failed to qualify for the first presidential debate hosted by CNN next week, officially setting up a one-on-one clash between President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump. CNN published an article Thursday morning that the network's window for candidates to meet the criteria for the June 27th debate in Atlanta closed just after midnight Eastern Standard Time, quote, with Biden and Trump meeting the constitutional ballot qualification and polling thresholds, end quote. A CNN spokesperson confirmed that Kennedy did not qualify. Kennedy hadn't hit CNN's polling threshold of 15% in at least 4 approved national polls, having only reached that mark in 3 surveys ahead of the deadline. He also fell short of the network's ballot criteria, which required the candidates to secure access in enough states to win 270 electoral votes, a significant task for a third party at this point in the election cycle. So the Kennedy campaign, I've heard messaging saying that they believe that they will be on enough ballots by November to gain the correct amount of electoral votes. But the polling issue has been consistent with debates. I remember the Republican National Convention had similar polling thresholds, and it was one of the things that eliminated a lot of people there. I want to pull RFK Jr.'s statement because I find it really interesting. You know, we know that third-party candidates can have an impact on the election. He said, Presidents Biden and Trump do not want me on the debate stage, and CNN illegally agreed to their demand. My exclusion by Presidents Biden and Trump is undemocratic, un-American, and cowardly. Americans want an independent leader who will break apart the two-party duopoly. They want a president who will heal the divide, restore the middle class, unwind the war machine, and end the chronic disease epidemic. So what are your thoughts on this? Is the debate going to turn the tides of this election? Or do we think that the third party candidacy is going to have a major impact? Because it is interesting that he seems to be have a significant performance, but this network was ultimately able to shut him out. You guys have any takes on this? I think Kennedy's a clown, but I think that they should let him debate, because having the other person up there it shouldn't be a problem. And honestly, I think that the reason they don't let him debate is because it only makes President Biden look worse. It's interesting because Biden was ultimately the one who said, we can debate, and Trump had always been open to it, but they're only going to debate twice. Typically, during presidential election cycle, the presidential candidates have 3 debates. It seems like maybe that's maybe they just think it's boring. We already did this once, but maybe also Biden knows that 3 is too many. He can't sustain it. I don't have any thoughts on the...
Yeah, look, I think that Kennedy definitely helps Trump, and that's probably why he's been under the type of attack in the media that he has been under. He is a clown. I mean, his positions are extreme. It goes back to what I was saying earlier about the Democratic Party and like this state of introspection. What's their identity? They don't even have a real vision of what they're going to be as a party. So, and I also think Kennedy, who used to have a massive social media presence, he still does. He does a lot of shows on social media. He understands the importance of a debate to get out there and get in front of millions of so-called normies who aren't on social media and get his message out there. And they're blocking it. And I think no matter what, though, it's still going to help Trump.
Do you think any independent candidate will ever be able to make one of these major networks debates in the modern era?
Probably not at this point, as long as a duopoly, and I completely agree. There is a duopoly, and that's why the moment, that there was talk about a potential third party or like a revamp of the Republican Party, there was such like a screech, like, no, that's impossible, you're not going to do it. It's just not part of the power structure. It's not going to happen, and I don't see it happening. I don't know what you guys think.
Ross Perot pulled it off in 88? Was it 88? It was Clinton and Bush Sr., and then Ross Perot came in as this third-party Texan. Yeah. Let me tell you something. And he had a bunch of signs, and I don't know if he just bought his way on. He had a lot of money. I think he was a big oil
guy, yeah.
So he might have just bought his way onto every ballot and paid for, what was the other thing you need to do?
You have to have enough.
Oh yeah.
So 15% and 4%. And then you also have to be on the ballot in enough states, like basically.
So you can buy your way onto the ballots. As far as I know, that's just money.
I
I don't know
mean,
if it's just money, but you need a lot of money to get on the ballots.
I'm also pretty sure that
And
the
signatures.
rules. Well, I'm not sure, but I imagine the rules, 40 years ago were fairly different. 35 years ago, whatever it was. So
And there's no internet. So he puts some commercials on at the right times in the right places. I don't know what he spent on it, 1.6 billion. The dude, he bought his way on. So if you're not a super wealthy third party candidate, that's a bigger challenge.
I will say, though, that I think Biden's entire presidency rests on this debate. I think if he does relatively well, whatever that even means, he'll likely remain the candidate. If he doesn't, you're probably going to see a lot of action around the DNC convention in Chicago.
You were mentioning other Democrats that are looking for that role. Do you know particularly anything behind the scenes? Did you hear stuff?
Look, the DNC convention's in Chicago. It's Michelle Obama's hometown. Obviously, she's still very popular within the Democrat Party. She could probably move the needle in many ways. And obviously, she's probably a much more attractive candidate to the left than Joe Biden is today. You have people like Gavin Newsom. I mean, I live in California. He's a horrific governor there, in my opinion, but, he's more presentable on TV, younger, more articulate if you want than Biden. So you have these type of candidates that should Biden completely, malfunction or collapse in many ways on the debate with Trump and his ratings continue to decline. I think they're at historic lows right now. That call to replace him is going to get louder and louder.
do you think that he would comply, though? I mean, to me, it's always seemed like there's a power struggle between the Biden machine that's in the White House versus the DNC itself. It's almost as though initially, back in the day when they were campaigning, they were like, Joe, it'll be great. Be a 4-year president. Then we'll elect the new leadership. He sort of messaged like this, that he would be the end of this old guard of Democrats. And then just step down in glory. You've served your time. And it seems like the Bidens maybe said yes to that, but ultimately were like, we're here for 8 years. All of our grandchildren get married in the White House. We're never leaving for as long as we possibly can.
Well, there's a thing called the 25th Amendment, and I think, should he, like I said, I think this debate is make or break for him. If he doesn't do well, you're probably going to have whispers saying, hey, look, we have cabinet members who are talking. You have the special counsel, who's talking about your mental decline. He's saying that you're not competent to be prosecuted, but you could still be president. That really resonated. I mean, that was strategically leaked, I think. I mean, a lot of that stuff was like declassified for the American people to actually understand. So when you put all that in tandem, I think that they will force him out and they will use the 25th Amendment, the special counsel's investigation into him, the various congressional investigations into him as the way to basically tell him either you resign or we force you out. So we'll see what happens on the debate. That's just really what I think. And I also will land on this. I think that the reason the Republicans haven't increased the heat like Jamie Comer, Jim Jordan, some of these others, Matt Gaetz, in Congress with these various investigations is because they don't want to burn him before the debate, before the convention. I think it's in our interest, meaning the Republican Party, to keep Biden where he is, but it's obviously not in the Democrats' interest.
So if the debate doesn't go in Biden's favor, if he fails to perform in some way, if Trump outmaneuvers him, you think that we'll see more aggressive action towards Biden from other branches of government?
Yeah, I could predict that. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, no doubt, actually.
It is interesting because it would be like the start of a lame duck period. People really don't think that he can recover from his abysmal approval ratings if people don't feel motivated to vote, because he is his legacy is difficult to defend, and also young voters don't seem to be captivated by Biden, whether it's because of a political interest that they have or just generally they are not super motivated by whatever Biden is trying to offer them. I felt like when he ran in 2020, a lot of it was like, do you remember Obama? He was a cool guy. And I was there too. And also that guy's pretty bad. But now you have to defend your own legacy saying, you know how much you pay at the grocery store? Yeah, that's me. And also gas prices and also insurance. But look at Trump. You know, he's in court and that's very, very bad. So vote for me. I don't think that it sells this messaging of I am not as bad as the other guy doesn't sell the same way right now.
It doesn't. And it's really, politics, optics is reality. And it's like the messenger is more important than the message sometimes. And Biden just doesn't have it. And when you're trying to attract youth, Hollywood, whatever you want to call it, entertainment, have a media presence, social media presence, if you don't have those two, you're kind of out of luck. And that's where Biden's finding himself right now.
I agree.
I mean, especially considering the fact that the youth vote is so strongly pro-Palestine.
Yeah.
And that makes the old guard of the Democrat Party really, really nervous, because there are a lot of Jewish people that are in the Democrat Party that are big donors that have historically been reliable Democrats and reliable donors. And with the behavior of a lot of the leftists and the way that I think they're intimidating a lot of the old guard Democrats, and I think that you're seeing that split between the progressives and your Joe Manchins. Manchin's, I guess he's left and he's gone independent, which
That should tell you something, though.
Yeah, it should. I mean, going independent is not as important. Like, if you go independent and you still caucus with the Democrats, it doesn't really matter. But
the first major piece of legislation I saw him supporting was co-sponsored by like 40 Republicans.
Yeah, which is good. And you're going to see more of that. You're going to see more people that either used to be Democrats or used to be independent saying, look, we have to vote for, a Republican because of this issue, or whether it be the border, or whether it be, people that don't want to fund Israel, or people that don't want to see anyone supporting the Palestinians. Both sides have a reason to leave the Democrats, and I think that that's the biggest problem that they have, is the progressives have gotten so progressive to the point where the DSA is, actual communists. DSA are basically running the government of New York City, and they're largely influential in the White House. I mean, there's the Dear White Staffers Instagram page, and all they do, they're extremely pro-Palestine, and they're definitely a whole lot of communists there, and that's making rifts in the Democrat Party, because your average person still does not want to see things like, oh, you can't own a home, or you can't rent out a room in your home or part of your home, or those kind of policies that the communists just refuse to give any on. That they are ideologically against things like property, things like they call small business owners the petit bourgeois. It's like they're against that in their philosophy, and that is abhorrent to essentially anyone that thinks they're pro-America, anyone that likes the idea of the American dream, that you can start a business and own a home, and you can do these things and better your life, go from one economic class and actually raise yourself to another. I mean, it's possible. It's not easy, and I know right now, because of the economic conditions, it's significantly harder than it's been in the past and stuff, but it's still an attainable goal. And there are people in the government that don't believe that it is, and don't want it to be an unattainable goal, because they believe that kind of stuff only creates inequality. The Democrats have to acknowledge that, and Joe Biden is totally unprepared to do it, I think.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.